Hello everybody, my name is Dracthyr, and today we have PTR notes for WoW's 20th anniversary update, which I believe is 11.0.5. So I think the timescale for this is November-ish or something. So it's kind of weird because we're getting a bunch of patch notes there's a lot of class changes in here, and we haven't really done anything with the current version of classes, but a lot of them are getting some pretty big changes in here. And it's worth noting again, these notes are not going to be in effect for the foreseeable, like until, I guess it's foreseeable, right? But we're going to have like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that before this patch actually lands, which is the 20th anniversary update. So these are PTR notes, some stuff about just the PTR, the event and stuff, the 20th anniversary event. Dracthyr spreading to a bunch of new classes. And you also... They're changing Dracthyr racials. They're basically nerfing them because, obviously they have 2 CC abilities. So Tail Swipe and Wing Buffet are both getting increased to 3 minutes from 1.5. Although I think within the Evoker talent tree, the options to empower these are getting better to kind of compensate. And yeah, that's kind of it. Then some stuff just about Visage and, stuff not shifting you into Dracthyr form unless you're an Evoker. So overall, it'll be interesting to see whether people play this for M+ and stuff. And obviously people, will just play it because they like it. But it is definitely still 2 pretty powerful racials, even on this longer CD. Okay, let's take a look at some of the class changes coming in. So again, a bunch of class changes here that aren't coming until this patch, which is many weeks away. So I expect that there will be more class tuning soon. And that kind of tuning is going to be percents up and down of different abilities. Whereas this is actually a bunch of reworks and a bunch of reimaginings of specs, which is pretty exciting to get early in an expansion. But again, temper your expectations about this coming out next week. It's not. So Deathbringer, we have a bunch of new talents here. Reaper's Onslaught. I guess let's talk about what they're taking out first. They're taking out Swift End, Painful Death, and Blood Fever. And then these 3 talents are going to replace here. So Reaper's Onslaught reduces the cooldown of Reaper's Mark by 15 seconds, but the number of Marrowrends and Obliterates empowered by Exterminate is reduced by 1, and that's a choice node with Dark Talons now. Dark Talons has been updated to make Marrowrend and Heartstrike or Consuming Killing Machine or Rhyme have a 25% chance to grant 3 stacks of Icy Talons and increase its max stacks by the same amount for 6 seconds. Runic Power spending abilities count as Shadow Frost while Icy Talons is active as well, so that's the choice node now with Reaper's Onslaught. Swift and Painful says if no enemies are struck by Soul Rupture, you gain 10% strength for 8 seconds. Wave of Souls is 100% more effective on the main target or Reaper's Mark and replaces the Swift End Painful Death choice node, so that was that node. Reaper of Souls says when you apply Reaper's Mark, the cooldown of your Soul Reaper is reset, your next Soul Reaper costs no runes, and it explodes regardless of the target's remaining health. Soul Reaper's damage increased by 20%, and that's a choice node now with Grim Reaper, which has been updated to say Reaper's Mark Initial Strike grants either Killing Machine or 3 charges of Bone Shield. Reaper's Mark Explosion deals up to 30% increased damage based on your target's missing health. Interesting effect here because, at least for Blood, Deathbringer already gives you so many charges of Bone Shield with the reduced cost Marrowrends that I'm not sure you need more of them here. Speaking of that, Painful Death's effects are now baseline to Exterminate. So Exterminate now empowers 2 Obliterates or Marrowrends baseline, and then Reaper's Onslaught would reduce that down to 1, is how that's going to work now. Wither Away's been updated. Blood Plague and Frost Fever deal damage 100% faster, and the second Scythe of Exterminate applies Blood Plague and Frost Fever. We talked about Dark Talons already. Bind and Darkness has been updated. Rhyme-empowered Howling Blast deals 30% increased damage to its main target. Blood Boil deals 10% increased damage, is now Shadow Frost. Shadow Frost damage applies 2 stacks to Reaper's Mark and 4 when it's a crit. I've found this part of the hero talent tree to be kind of interesting, but also kind of not, because you can just get to max stacks. Like, it's not like a bunch of crits help you get more, because you're just going to get to max stacks either way, pretty much, if you're playing it right, and that's at the start of an expansion. As we get more haste and crit, that's going to be even freer. Rune Carved Plates now reduces the max magic and physical damage you take by 1.5% per stack, was 2%, so a little nerf defensively to Deathbringer as well. Frost also, Arctic Assault, is being nerfed a little bit, firing a Glacial Advance at 80% instead of 100% effectiveness. So those are the DK changes, just a rework to Deathbringer. Seems reasonable to me, just, I don't know, not too... I don't think it's going to feel too different. They're sort of moving it around a little bit. maybe trying to make this something that you'd more consider than you currently do. Demon Hunter. Icon updates. Felscarred. Focused Hatred now provides bonus damage beyond one target only, with the bonus reducing by 10% for each target beyond one. This was the effect where your Demon Surge would deal additional damage if it only struck one target, and now it's instead going to just deal, falling off increased damage on small target counts, which that's a buff. Vengeance. So meta now heals you for 40% of your max health instead of modifying your health directly. Casting meta while in demon form no longer heals you. Triggering Last Resort always heals you for 40% of your base max health. This cleans up some edge cases in meta, where activating it while demon form is active would sometimes not heal you, and sometimes heal you a reduced amount. This is an increase to healing received when triggering Last Resort while in demon form, and meta's health restoration will now also appear as healing in combat logs. One thing I don't like about this is I think you can cancel meta, in which case this sort of creates this weird playstyle of either waiting for your meta to expire before hitting meta. Like say you're in meta from Demonic or from Last Resort and you need healing. Canceling meta and then hitting meta, it will heal you, whereas not doing that won't, and just pressing meta won't. I feel like it would be better if just casting meta always healed you for 40% of your max health, even if you were in demon form, so that you didn't have that kind of weird incentive to either cancel it or wait 1.5 seconds for it to fall off or whatever, so you can get that extra healing. I mean, it is, I guess, skill kind of. I don't know. It's a weird kind of skill. I don't think it's a good one. Druid. Okay, we got a lot of changes here to Druid. Mark of the Wild now costs less mana. Swarm. Okay, icon updates, whatever. Ravage, little quality of life increase. You can use it for an extra 5 seconds after it triggers. Balance. Okay, we've got a bunch of new balance talents. Sunseeker Mushrooms. Sunfire damage has a chance to grow a magical mushroom at the target's location. After 1 second, it detonates, dealing nature damage, and then a dot. Affected targets are slowed, generates astral power based on target's hit, and this is a choice node with wild mushrooms, so you can take this and just be proccing your mushrooms off your Sunfire. Whirling Stars. Celestial Alignment's cooldown is reduced to 75 seconds, and it has 2 charges, but its duration is reduced. Interesting. 75 seconds is a weird cooldown time as well. Astronomical Impact. The crit strike damage of your astral spells is increased by 20%. Known issue on beta. Crashing Star. Shooting Stars has a 15% chance to instead call down a Crashing Star, which deals astral damage and generates 4 astral power. Hail of Stars. Casting a free Star Surge or Star Fall grants Solstice for 3 seconds. Free spells cast by Convoke grant a 1-second version of this effect. And Circle of Life and Death. Moonfire, Sunfire, Stellar Flare, and Starfall deal their damage in 20% less time, and your healing over time effects, heal in 15% less time. Starfall is no longer a talent. Its damage is being buffed, so +1 talent point there. Wild Mushroom generates more astral power upon hitting a single target. Warrior Valoon gives you less astral power bonus on the affected Starfires. Nature's Grace no longer increases the damage of affected Wraths and Starfires. So they're really trying to make sure that the playstyle is not too much built based on the builders, and they're moving more into the spenders, it looks like, which they tried to do a little bit via hotfix in the current version of the game, but it definitely is still, I think, something where it's maybe a little bit too close for comfort for them. Umbral Intensity is now a 1-point talent that increases the damage of Solar Eclipse Wrath by 20%, was 15, Lunar Eclipse Starfire by 15, and Starfire to nearby enemies by 30. Astral Smolder's chance to trigger is reduced to 35%, was 40%, but it deals more damage, 60 instead of 50. So it's 1/8 less triggering, but 1/5 more damage. So that's a buff, I think. Touch of the Cosmos has been updated. Casting Wrath in an Eclipse has a 12% chance to make your next Star Surge or Starfall free. Casting Starfire in an Eclipse has an 18% chance to make your next Star Surge or Starfall free. Balance of All Things is being nerfed a little bit. Orbit Breaker nerfed a little bit. Power of Goldrun down to a 1-pointer, but with less damage. Astral Communion no longer grants astral power on entering an Eclipse. Instead, entering an Eclipse causes your next Star Surge or Starfall to cost less astral power. Stuff's been moved around, connectors have been adjusted, and Starfall is no longer talent because it's automatically learned, but Greater Alignment and Lunar Shrapnel have been removed. Then we have some Keeper of the Grove changes. Potent Enchantments causes Whirling Stars to give you 10 extra seconds of Celestial Alignment cooldown reduction. And Control of the Dream now reads, are available to be used or at maximum charges. If the player has Whirling Stars, it reduces the cooldown of Celestial Alignment based on time spent at maximum charges. I think this is the effect where, yeah, you get cooldown reduction if you use your cooldown after it has, like, for a while. If your cooldown comes up, then you wait a little bit, then you press it, you kind of don't get owned as much as you usually do when you have this thing talented, so that makes sense. Resto. We've got one talent here, a new talent, Reactive Resin. When your HOTS are removed by enemies, they are replaced with Reactive Resin, healing an ally over 6 seconds. Multiple stacks may overlap, and it's a passive as well, so that's a PvP thing mostly. And then Wildstalker Flourish now affects Symbiotic Blooms. Evoker. Blessing of the Bronze costs less mana. Oh, it looks like all the raid buffs are just going to cost less mana, which... Okay. These are the changes to kind of unnerf Tail Swipe and Wing Buffet for Evoker. So you're going to get more cooldown reduction on them, but they, of course, have longer base cooldowns. So, and actually, they're still going to have longer cooldowns, right? Because they're going from 90 reduced to 45 to 180 reduced to 60. So it's still going to have a longer cooldown than it does on live. And also, you're only going to pick one of these, which means the other one is going to be even longer CD. So still a nerf there, even for Evoker Dracthyr, but trying to be less of a nerf than it is for the non-Evoker Dracthyr, which I guess obviously didn't exist yet. Permeating Chill is now baseline, no longer spams immune messages when attacking enemies who are immune to slows. Renewing Blaze is no longer affected by healing received modifiers, both positive and negative. Dampening an arena is a special case and will continue to decrease the healing of it. Interesting. So if you get Mortal Striked in both arenas, but if there's ever a PvE situation like that, you actually could get through that with Renewing Blaze. That could be potentially big for, like, Dracthyr warriors on some, tanking some bosses or something. Interesting. Heavy Wing Beats and Clobbering Sweep are no longer a choice node, and their position is changed in the talent tree. Oh, okay, so you can now get both of these, but it's still -1 talent point. And then Scale Commander, Bombardments now summon a variety of different Dracthyr models. Cool. Hunter, we got a lot of stuff here. Death Blow is a new talent that says Kill Command and Aim Shot have a 10% chance to grant you Death Blow, which gives you a reset of Kill Shot and lets you use it on anything. Each Hunter spec has a way to generate it, but only Marksmanship referred to it as Death Blow. These changes are meant to unify the design while still allowing each spec to interface with it in a unique way. Steady Shot now generates 10 focus baseline for all specs. Updated animation for volley and rapid fire, and improved kill shot has been removed. Dark Ranger. Black Arrow has been redesigned. Kill shot is now replaced with Black Arrow. Black Arrow is a kill shot that deals shadow damage and a shadow damage over time effect, only usable on enemies with less than 20% health. Withering Fire has been redesigned. Every 4 casts of Bestial Wrath, or while True Shot is active, you surrender to darkness for 12 seconds. When you gain Death Blow, Black Arrow automatically fires at your target, and 2 additional Black Arrows at 50% effectiveness. Cool. All right, that's going to be sweet. That's part of the coolness factor that Dark Ranger, I think, was missing. This is going to be more like kind of like Sylvanas would do, right? You get the multiple shots of it, and it's happening automatically while you're doing other stuff. Yeah, sweet. Shadow Surge has been redesigned. Periodic damage from Black Arrow has a small chance to erupt, dealing AoE damage reduced beyond 8 targets. Shadow Hands has been updated for Beast Mastery only. When summoning a dire beast, you have a 25% chance to also summon a Shadow Hound. New talents. So they've removed Overshadow, Death Shade, Dark Empowerment, Grave Reaper, Darkness Calls, Shadow Erasure, and Shadow Lash. Here are the new talents. Bleak Arrows, your auto shot now deals shadow damage, and it has a 15 or 8% chance to grant Death Blow, depending on your spec. Phantom Pain. When Kill Commander Aim Shot damages a target affected by Black Arrow, 5% of the damage dealt is replicated to each other unit affected by Black Arrow. Cool. Banshee's Mark. Murder of Crows now deals shadow damage. Casting Black Arrow has a 25% chance to summon a Murder of Crows. The Bell Tools. Ooh, Black Arrow is now usable on enemies with greater than 80% or less than 20% health. Kind of like Condemn for Venthyr warriors back in Shadowlands. Neat effect. Shadow Dagger. While in combat, casting Disengage releases a fan of daggers at nearby enemies, dealing very low shadow damage and slowing by 30%. Again, cool. Sylvanas, right? She would do that kind of thing at the end of her Shadow Blades attack on the Sylvanas fight, so love that. Bleak Powder. Casting Black Arrow while Beast Cleave or Trick Shots is active causes Black Arrow to explode upon hitting a target, dealing moderate damage to nearby enemies. And Soul Drinker. When an enemy affected by Black Arrow dies, you have a 10% chance to gain Death Blow. Choice node with Shadow Hounds. Bunch of visuals have been updated. Dark Chain updated to only function while in combat, can no longer affect critters. Withering Fire now warns you when you're not talented into True Shot or Bestial Wrath. That's smart. Cool. I am not a hunter scientist, but this seems like a way cooler hero talent tree than existing Dark Ranger, to me at least. Sentinel. Lunar Storm's visual effects have been updated. Beast Mastery. New talent, Snakeskin Quiver. Your auto shot has a 15% chance to also fire a Cobra shot. Serpentine Rhythm, casting Cobra shot increases its damage by 15%, stacking up to 6 times. Upon reaching 6 stacks, the bonus is removed. You gain 8% increased pet damage for 10 seconds. Barbed Scales, casting Cobra shot reduces the cooldown of Barbed Shot by 2 seconds. Cobra Sense has been redesigned, now reduces the focus cost of Cobra Shot by 5, increases its damage by 35%. Hunter's Prey has been redesigned, Kill Shot will strike 1 additional target, deal 10% increased damage for each of your active pets, stacks up to 5 times. Barbed Shot damage increased by 100%, cooldown increased, and duration increased. Pet Frenzy duration also increased, so the cooldown is being increased by more than the duration here for both Barbed Shot's dot and also Pet Frenzy, which is the big thing here. But note that if you take Barbed Scales, casting 1 Cobra Shot is going to get you back to parity between cooldown and duration. And then, of course, the fact that it's a longer duration and cooldown means you're going to get more opportunities to either get resets or cooldown reduction on it. So I suspect that this is going to make maintaining frenzies easier, which was somewhat skill-intensive with low haste values at the start of an expansion, typically. Pack Tactics energy regen increased to 125%, now replaces Steady Shot. Animal Companion no longer reduces the damage of all your pets by 35%. The following pet ability damage has been reduced by 35%. Stomp, Kill Command, Bloodshed, Claw, Bite, Smack. And Kindred Spirits and Improved Kill Command has been removed. Okay. Pet, 35% less damage on Kill Command is definitely a big deal balance-wise here. So I wonder if all this other stuff comes close to making up for that. That's so much of their damage, right? That's a lot of BM's damage, right? And not to mention the Stomp, Claw, Bite, and Smack, which that's a lot of the like auto attack things for the pets, right? It's Claw, Bite, and Smack. Interesting. Marksmanship, new talent, Pincushion. Casting Steady Shot reduces the cooldown of Aim Shot by 2 seconds. Choice node with Improved Steady Shot. Improved Death Blow, Aim Shot now has a 15% chance and Rapid Shot a 25% to grant Death Blow. Kill Shot's crit damage increased by 25%. Improved Steady Shot has been updated, now makes Steady Shot grant an additional 10 focus. Precise Shot's been updated to Precise Shot, now empowers your next cast of Arcane, Chimera, or Multi-Shot to deal 100% increased damage instead of 2 casts at 70%. Steady Focus has been updated. Casting Steady Shot increases your haste by 8% for 15 seconds. Was casting 2 Steady Shots in a row. No longer plays the visual effects when refreshed. True Shot now reduces the focus cost of Aim Shot baseline. Rapid Fire, Barrage, Rapid Fire effectiveness is being increased to 40 from 30. Position of Unerring Vision and calling the shots is swapped, and Eagle Talon's True Focus has been removed. Survival. Ruthless Marauder has been redesigned. Damage from Fury of the Eagle has a 20% chance to grant a stack of Tip of the Spear. When it ends, your haste is increased by 8% for 10 seconds. 1 point talent. Merciless Blows redesigned. Butchery causes affected targets to bleed over 12 seconds. Sickham's been updated. Kill Command's chance to grant Death Blow is increased to 15%, and Death Blow now makes Kill Shot strike up to 2 additional targets. Your chance is doubled during Coordinated Assault. Exposed Flank has been updated. Now empowers your next Kill Command to deal 50% increased damage, strike 3 targets, and generate a tip stack for each target it hit. Fury damage increased by 25%. Channel time reduced to 3 from 4. Kill Command no longer reduces the cooldown of Fury of the Eagle. Butchery damage increased by 50%. No longer has charges, and its cooldown has been increased to 15 seconds. Tip's Consumption Grace Period has been reduced to 0.3 from 0.7 seconds. Relentless Primal Ferocity now grants 2 additional stacks, was 1. The position of Ranger and terms of engagement have been swapped. And then just for survival, Pack Leader, Howl of the Pack also increases Wildfire Bomb damage by 20%. Wild Attacks now increases the damage of Raptor Strike or Mongoose Bite by 20%. Interesting. Hunter Rework seems... I don't know. I don't think I know enough about Hunter to say seems good or bad for the spec changes. I do think that the Dark Ranger changes, I will say, look like a flavor dub, a win there for sure, but I would defer to actual hunters if they have any gameplay concerns about it. At least it seems like a flavor win here. Tuning-wise, I don't know, Hunter's looking kind of anemic on live right now. Hopefully that improves sooner than this patch comes out, or I'm wrong. And either way, hopefully, if any of this means that they are OP or underpowered, hopefully that gets fixed as well. Mage. Arcane Intellect costs less. Shifting Powers icon's been updated. Cool. Spellslinger has a new talent, Signature Spell, a choice with Shifting Shards. Arcane says when Magi's Spark explodes, you conjure 6 splinters, whereas for Frost, Consuming Winter's Chill with Glacial Spike conjures 2 additional splinters. Arcane Splinter Storm now has a 5% chance to generate clear casting. Frost, Splinter Storm no longer applies Winter's Chill, has a 5% chance to grant Brain Freeze. Arcane, new talent, Ether Vision. Consuming Nether Precision with Arcane Blast increases the damage of your next barrage by 10%, causes it to generate 2 charges, stacks up to 2 times. Time Loop's been updated, now increases the duration of Arcane Debilitation by 2 seconds, and its chance to trigger to 25 was 15. Ley Drinker no longer affects Barrage, and Casting Touch of the Magi now grants it. Its chance to trigger increased to 25 was 20. Charged Orb now also increases the damage of Arcane Orb by 15%. Consortium's Bauble now increases Arcane Blast damage by 8% and reduces its mana cost by 5%, and it's also moved in the tree. Fixed some Buggy Wuggies, and moved some talents. Fire! Majesty of the Phoenix has been updated. Casting Phoenix Flames, causes your next Flame Strike to have its critical strike chance increased by 20%, and its critical strike damage increased by 20%, stacks up to 3 times. Heat Shimmer can once again trigger while casting Scorch. Heat Shimmer is no longer consumed when it triggers during a Scorched cast. Fuel the Fire is now shown in the spellbook. Fixed an issue that prevented Pyromaniac from being able to trigger Hyperthermia. And an issue causing Controlled Destruction to increase Ignite damage by an additional 0.5% per stack has been resolved. So not too much changing here for Mage. Surprisingly, weird to have patch notes where Mage isn't the longest section, but let's move on to Monk. Monk, we just have some icon updates and then Mistweaver changes. A new passive is coming in called Dome of Mist. Enveloping Mist transforms 80% of its remaining hot into a Dome of Mist when dispelled, absorbing damage and increasing healing received by the Monk by 30% for 8 seconds, learned at level 45. Increasing healing received by the Monk is weird phrasing here. I wonder if this should mean from the Monk. Right? Because it's like you have an Enveloping Mist on somebody, it gets dispelled, they get the Dome of Mist, so they should be getting the increased healing received, probably. That's my guess on what's happening here, but maybe just whenever it gets dispelled, you get the Dome of Mist as the Mistweaver. I'm not sure. Either way, this is probably mostly an effect that you would care about in PvP, not something that will likely change much for PvE. Ancient Teachings is now a baseline effect, transfers damage from Crackling Jade Lightning, but now transfers 30% of damage into healing. Jadefire Teachings is a new talent that says after casting Jadefire Stomp or Thunder Focus T, Ancient Teachings transfers an additional 140% of damage into healing for 15 seconds. While it's active, your stamina is increased by 5%. Wow. Refreshment says Life Cocoon now generates 5 stacks of Mana Tea and applies 2 stacks of Healing Elixir to its target. Rushing Wind Kick is a new talent that says kick up a powerful gust of wind, dealing nature damage in a 25-yard cone to enemies in front of you, split evenly, increased by 5% for each target hit, up to 30%, grants Rushing Winds for 4 seconds, increasing Renewing Mist healing by 50%, replaces Rising Sun Kick, Choice Node with Jadefire Teachings. Ooh, very cool effect, at least here conceptually. Hopefully a interesting choice as well. Jade Empowerment, casting Thunder Focus T increases your next Jade Lightning's damage by 1,000%, causes it to chain to 4 additional enemies, Choice Node with Dance of Chi-Chi. Calming Coalescence has been redesigned, increases the absorbed amount of Life Cocoon by 80%. Crackling Jade Lightning damage is being increased by 100%, channels 25% faster. Blackout Kick damage increased by 25%. Awakened Jadefire now additionally causes Blackout Kick to strike 2 additional targets at 70% effectiveness. Dance of Chi-Chi's chance to trigger has been increased by 100% and has moved locations. Enveloping Mist can now be dispelled. And Nourishing Chi and Ancient Concordance have been removed. All right, up next, Paladin. Many talents have changed locations. Many new talents have been made. Holy Ritual. Allies are healed when you cast a blessing spell on them and healed again when it ends. Depending on the amount of that healing, that could be a quite nice little piece of trinkety kind of effect. Worthy Sacrifice, you automatically sack allies within 40 yards once they received damage below 35% and you're not in a loss of control effect. This effect activates 100% of sack's cooldown. Interesting. I suspect this is not a good talent to take for PvE. Maybe not for PvP either, because, obviously they can then manipulate when it triggers, right? But for PvE, I don't know. I feel like you'd often want the option here, and especially like if this just randomly triggers on your tank while they're getting beat up, but you don't actually want to sack them. Like now your sack's on CD in case it's used somewhere, and also maybe you're going to die because it doesn't look like this has a gate that stops it from being cast if, say, you're at 20% health. So my guess is that this is a not something you actually want to talent, but it's probably the kind of thing where if you're not very good, it's probably better if you never cast Blessing of Sacrifice. It's probably worth talenting, but you should cast Blessing of Sacrifice. That button's really good. Steed of Liberty. Divine Steed also grants freedom for 3 seconds. Nice. Eye for an eye, melee and range attackers receive holy damage each time they strike you during Ardent Defender or Divine Protection and Divine Shield. You should try not to attack people that have Divine Shield up as well. That's one of the big tech points. I'm not a PvP scientist, but it does seem like many of these talents are kind of PvP oriented for Paladin, so far at least. And that is one of my main pieces of advice is Divine Shield. They're completely immune to damage, so don't hit them too much when that's up. Stoicism. The duration of stun effect on you is reduced by 20%, 10 in PvP combat. Turn Evil's cast time reduced by 100%, a new talent called Wrench Evil. Stand Against Evil that makes Turn Evil affect 5 additional nearby enemies. Wow. Righteous Protection, Sack now removes and prevents all poison and disease effects. That could be nice value in some dungeons and boss fights. Light's Countenance. The cooldowns of Repentance and Blinding Light are reduced by 15 seconds. Sacred Strength. Holy Power spenders are 2% more effective. Choice Node with Divine Purpose. Wow, that's 2% more effective is not a very big number, but, you know, that's something. Divine Spurs. Divine Steed's cooldown is reduced by 20%, but its duration is reduced by 40%. Adjust Reward. After cleanses something, they're healed. Imperial Ward. Lay on Hands grants the target 100% increased armor for 30 seconds and now ignores healing reduction effects. This is another thing where, like, you know, if you give this to a tank, say back in Dragonflight, Broodkeeper Diurna, you know, your tank is kind of getting beat up. Say one of your tanks is dead. The other one gets that huge tank slam on them. They barely survive. They're still tanking because your other tank's dead. They're going to die. The writing's on the wall. Well, a Paladin rides over the hilltop on their Divine Steed, slams a Lay on Hands into them, full health because it ignores that big healing reduction on them. Now they have increased armor as well, so they're not going to die to the auto attacks from Broodkeeper. That is the situation that I'm imagining in my head where this thing is useful, but I suspect that it's going to be mostly a niche talent that you generally wouldn't select for PvE content. Lightbearer, 10% of all healing done to you heals up to 4 nearby allies, divided evenly among them. This is just likely to be an effect that's decent value. Selfless Healer, Flash of Light, and Holy Light are 30% more effective on your allies, and 40% of the healing done also heals you. Inspired Guard, Ardent Defender, and Divine Protection increase healing taken for their duration. Holy Reprieve, 10 seconds less forbearance. Light's Revocation. Removing harmful effects with Divine Shield heals you for each effect removed for 10%. Can't exceed more than 30% of your max health. Divine Shield may now be cast while forbearance is active. Ooh, wow. Again, most of these effects seems pretty niche, but I could imagine situations for most of these being useful, and, you know, obviously you just don't talent them when they wouldn't be. Blessed Calling. Allies affected by your blessings have 15% increased movement speed. Lead the Charge. Divine Seed reduces the cooldown of 4 nearby allies' major movement ability by 3 seconds. Your movement speed is increased by 3%. Again, hard to imagine this being like something you'd plan around. Well, I guess it's a little bit of extra value. And then 3% movement speed is not much, but movement speed is a underrated, overpowered stat. So this is actually, especially for Paladins, DKs, Priests, movement speed is big money. Divine Reach, the radius of your auras is increased by 20 yards. Fist of Justice now reduces the cooldown of Hammer of Justice by 15 seconds. Sanctified Wrath now increases the duration of wings and causes its respective specialization effect. Was able to be its own spell. Okay, somebody smarter than me is going to have to... Oh, I guess, okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Consecrated Ground is now a class tree talent. Auras the Resolute now additionally teaches the Paladin Crusader aura. Seasoned Warhorse is now passive. Judgment damage going up. Cooldown being reduced as well. Nice. Hodge base cooldown is reduced to 45, was 60. Wings now increases crit by default. Unbound Freedom now additionally targets a nearby ally by default if you cast Freedom on yourself. Nice. Lightforge Blessing now heals for 3% max health for all specs. Was 1% for Holy Prot, 2% for Ret. That's actually a nice amount of extra passive HPS. Dusk and Dawn, Blessing of Dawn's effects have been increased by 10% for Prot and Ret, 5% for Holy. Divine Tool Icon update, let's go. Fist of Justice, Holy Aegis are now 1 point. Vengeful Wrath Zealot's Paragon are now 2 points. Bunch of talents have been removed, including Might Wings. I guess that's the crit wings, right? Which is now default. Lightsmith, new talent. Authoritative Rebuke. Successfully interrupting an enemy spellcast reduces your rebuke's cooldown by 1 second, or 2 if you're wielding a holy armament. Tempered in battle, while you or an ally wielding a holy bulwark are healed above max health, transfer 100% of the overhealing to your ally. When you or an ally wielding a sacred weapon drop below 40% health, redistribute your health immediately and every 1 second, 4 seconds. That seems sick. That seems super sick. These both seem like really nice effects. Fear no evil and excoriation have been removed. Holy, Word of Glory healing increased by 5%. Shield of the Righteous damage increased by 10%. We're moving power back into it with the removal of the Strength of Conviction talent. And that dev note applies to some other changes as well. Prot, Refining Fire. Enemy struck by Avenger's Shield burn with Holy Fire, suffering damage over time. That was the Aberrus 2-piece set bonus. Word of Glory healing increased by 20%. Shield of the Righteous damage increased by 20%, again, for that power move back. Consecrated Ground has been removed. Ret, again, Shield of the Righteous and Word of Glory being buffed as Strength of Conviction is gone. Priest, Fort costs less mana. Archon, Sustained Potency has been updated. It now also pauses the duration of Apotheosis, Dark Ascension, or Void Form for up to 20 seconds while out of combat or affected by a loss of control effect. Nice. Potentially, I guess, useful in PvE between packs and M+, or if you ever get, CC'd. Fix an issue causing Cyclone or other similar effect to prevent halos from Power Surge for firing. Fix an issue causing Halo to not be castable during Divine Ascension. Void Reaver Entropic Rift now has a hostile variant for PvP combat, so you can differentiate it from a friendly Entropic Rift. Now displays a low noise version for your allies instead of being completely invisible. And then Holy, From Darkness Comes Light, has been updated to also trigger From Holy Fire damage. Rogue, new talent, Thrill Seeking. Shadow Step, for Assassination and Subtlety, or Grappling Hook, has 1 additional charge. Thistle Tea now automatically triggers when energy is reduced below 50. Cut to the Chase now grants Slice and Dice duration instead of requiring an existing one to extend. Nice. Shadow Step's been removed. It's still automatically granted for Sin and Sub. Soothing Darkness, so I guess you can't get it as Outlaw anymore. Soothing Darkness now heals for 30% over 6 seconds, was 15. No longer triggers from Shadow Dance, though. That's big. And then some icons have been updated. Fatebound, Inevitability has been renamed to Inevitable End. Inevitable End and Double Jeopardy effects now indicate they can match any flip outcome, including Edge, not just one face or the other. Delivered Doom now provides bonus damage when more than one target's nearby, with the bonus reducing by 6% for each nearby target beyond 1, so similar treatment to the Demon Surge treatment above for DH. Sin. Twist the Knife now enables Envenom's beneficial effect to overlap up to 2 times. Envenom Tooltip's been updated to contextually reflect the overlapping behavior when Twist the Knife is known. Outlaw Crackshot now reduces the cooldown of Between the Eyes upon gaining stealth. Precise Cuts now increases Blade Flurry's damage by 4% per missing target below its max was 2. That's a pretty big buff for small target AoE. Keep It Rolling cooldown reduced to 6 was 7. Blade Flurry's AoE range increased to match the same distance it was when the previous version of Acrobatic Strikes was talented. God bless. This is really nice for Outlaw. Blade Flurry was such a... the reduction of melee AoE was super nasty for Outlaw in particular with the removal of Acrobatic Strikes, so giving that back is really important, just so that you can be in an M+ regular pull, press Blade Flurry, and be confident you're actually hitting all the mobs when it feels like you should be. Sub, new talent, Death Perception, nice. Symbols of Death has 1 or 2 additional charges, 2-point talent. And Sepsis and Invigorating Shadow has been removed. Invigorating Shadow has been removed. Okay, interesting. That's big. That's it for Rogue, though. Shaman, Sky Fury now costs 1% base mana, was 4. The Ascendance models have been updated. They look... I'll let you go look up what they look like. There's some of the posts you can see. They're pretty funny. Shamans now float on water while in Ascendant form. Cool. Monostring no longer has an aura displaying who's benefiting from it. Updated spell visuals for Lava Burst and Primwave's icon. Farseer, some changes here. Blast from Ancestors now prioritize your most recently attacked target when possible. Ancestors prefer to Chain Lightning when you Chain Lightning or cast Targeted Earthquake. Ancestors are now summoned equipped with a Historic Shaman set. Sick. This is one of those patch notes that's like, yeah, this is inspired. Stormbringer, new talent, Lightning Conduit. You have a chance to get struck by lightning, increasing your movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. The effectiveness is increased to 100% in outdoor areas. You call down a thunderstorm when you reincarnate. Sick. Another sick talent where you're just like, yeah, that's cool. Electroshock. Tempest increases your movement speed by 20% for 5 seconds. Storm spell's been redesigned. Tempest grants mastery for 6 seconds. Now a choice note against Supercharge. Nature's Protection's been redesigned. Lightning Shield reduces damage you take by 3%. Don't sleep on 3% DR. That's quite relevant. Surging Cards have been redesigned. When you cast Tempest, you gain it, increasing the effectiveness of your next Chain Heal or Healing Surge by 20%, up to 100%. Conductive Energy spell icon updated to be the same as Lightning Rod. Unlimited Power tooltip updated to have it be consistent with other talents with similar functionality. Shocking Grasp has been removed. And for enhancement, Awakening Storms is being nerfed by 35%. Fixed an issue causing it to not be affected by Mastery, though, so maybe that evens out or something. Ellie. Several talents have moved. Herald of the Storms is a new talent that says Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning cast reduce the cooldown of Stormkeeper by 2 seconds. This is a choice against Fury of the Storms. Erupting Lava is a new talent that says increases the duration of Flame Shock by 6 seconds. Lava Burst consumes up to 3 seconds of Flame Shock, instantly dealing the damage. Lava Burst overloads benefit at 50% effectiveness. So if you overload your Lava Burst, you'll consume 4.5 seconds instead of just 3, I guess. That's cool. That'll be a nice little way to get extra value. Like, that seems like, especially on a single target. Probably not as good in multi-target situations, because you're probably going to get that damage from Flame Shock anyways, and, reapplying it's annoying and stuff. Although you have some good ways to reapply it in AoE. Charge Conduit increases the duration of Lightning Rod by 4 seconds and damage bonus by 25%. Earth Shatter increases the damage of Earth Shock and Earthquake by 8%. Increases the stat bonuses granted by Elemental Blast by 25%. Ascendants have been redesigned, transform into a Flame Ascendant for 15 seconds, instantly casting a Flame Shock and a 100% effectiveness Lava Burst up to 6 nearby enemies. Wow, that is going to be a powerful start to this effect. While Ascended, Overload damage is increased by 150%, and spells overloaded cause 1 additional overload. Super sick. Ascendance no longer increases the crit chance or crit damage of Lava Burst, no longer replaces Chain Lightning with Lava Beam, one of the hokiest looking spells in the game, or removes the cooldown of Lava Burst. Okay, so removing the cooldown of Lava Burst, definitely, that was always... They're making Ascendance a new iconic thing, but they're also taking away the old stuff that it used to do. Which kind of makes... That kind of feels fair. This seems really cool still. Overload now increases pet damage. The cooldowns of Meteor, Immolate, Call Lightning, and Storm Fury are now reset when elementals are refreshed due to casting the ability while an elemental is already active. Wind Gust grants 4% haste instead of 3% cast time reduction. Stacks up to 4 times, was 10. It's now on the personal resource display. Stacks of Wind Gust no longer reset when a lesser Storm LE spawns. Deeply rooted enemies now triggers from Earth Shock, Elemental Blast, or Earthquake instead of Lava Burst. Frost Shock damage increased by 30%. Ice Fury can now trigger from Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning, in addition to just Lava Burst. It now causes your next Frost Shock to be empowered, was 2, and causes Frost Shock to hit 4 additional targets. But it does also increase damage by less. Less Frost Shocks for less damage, okay. Frost Shock, Flame Shock, and Prim Wave now generate Maelstrom. Liquid Magma Totem now generate 8 Maelstrom. Ice Fury now causes Frost Shock to generate an additional 7. Flash of Lightning no longer reduces the cooldown of nature spells when Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning are cast. Fire Ellie and Storm Ellie now lasts 20 seconds, was 30. Lesser Elementals from Echo of the Elementals now last 10 seconds, was 15. Storm Frenzy now reduces the cast time of Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 30, was 40. Storm Frenzy now also reduces the GCD of its associated spells if the spell has a low enough cast time to be under the normal GCD. That's nice. Fury of the Storms now summons a powerful Lightning Elemental for 10 instead of 8 seconds. Prim Wave now grants Lava Surge. Lightning Conduit's been renamed to Lightning Capacitor. Fixed an issue causing the tooltip of Improved Flame Tongue Weapon to be incorrect when talented into Enhanced Imbues. And Unrelenting Calamity and Skybreaker's Fiery Demise have been removed. Just for Ellie as well, Farseer Routine Communication now triggers from Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Ice Fury, and Frost Shock, but it only has a 5% chance to trigger instead of 8. Enhance. New talent here, Flowing Spirits. Your damaging abilities have a chance to summon a Feral Spirit for 8 seconds, replaces Feral Spirit, functions with Elemental Spirits and Alpha Wolf, choice node with Witch Doctor's Ancestry. Lightning Spark says Chain Lightning marks enemies with Lightning Spark and has a chance to make your next Flame Shock become Tremor Shock, which shocks up to 6 Lightning Spark targets with concussive force, causing nature damage and applying Flame Shock. Sick. Molten Thunder. The cooldown of Sundering is reduced by 10 seconds, but it can no longer incapacitate. Storm Surge has a small chance to also reset the cooldown of Sundering. Ice Strike's been redesigned. Whenever you spend Maelstrom Weapon, your Frost Shank has a chance to become Ice Strike. Doom Winds has been updated. Unleash a devastating storm around yourself, dealing Storm Strike damage every 1 second to nearby enemies for 8 seconds. Increases your chance to activate Wind Fury Weapon by 200% and the damage of it by 10%. Arc Discharge has been updated. Tempest makes your next Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt instant cast, deal 40% increased damage, and cast an additional time. Does not consume Maelstrom Weapon stacks either. Thorm's Invocation now causes deeply rooted elements to last 2 seconds longer or reduces the cooldown of a sentence by 60 seconds instead of increasing the damage of Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt, remaining effect unchanged. The second part of Enhancement Shaman Mastery that resets Storm Strike cooldown has been renamed from Stormbringer to Storm Surge. Supercharges Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 35% chance to refund 2 Maelstrom Weapon stacks, was 3. Chain Lightning now reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning by 0.5 instead of 1 second for each target hit. Crash Lightning's range is being nerfed to 8 from 12 yards. Ooh, I hate that. Molten Assault's range is being changed to 10 yards, was 12. Primal Maelstrom now causes Primwave to generate 3 or 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, was 5 or 10. Witch Doctor's Ancestry now reduces the cooldown of Feral Spirit by 1 second whenever a stack is generated of Maelstrom Weapon rather than 2. Flame Tongue Weapon damage increased by 20%. Fire Nova is now unavailable when there are no Flame Shock targets within 40 yards. Mastery Reset on Storm Strike no longer has a UI overlay and now displays in combat text. Overflowing Maelstrom now has a UI overlay when Maelstrom Weapon reaches 10 stacks. Hot Hand no longer has a UI visual overlay or display. UI overlay display. Okay, yeah, just a bunch of changes here about how this is going to show for you in your UI. And then also Elemental Weapons now is 1 point talent too. Totemic, reactivity has been redesigned. While Hot Hand is active, Lava Lash shatters the earth, causing Sundering at 30% effectiveness. Sunderings from this effect do not incap. Its previous effect has been merged into Lively Totems. Whirling Elements has been redesigned, so the Fire effect now makes your next Lava Lash or Fire Nova grant you Hot Hands for 8 seconds. This will add its time to an active Hot Hands if it's active. The Earth effect says direct damage of your next Flame Shock is increased by 300% and is applied to 5 nearby enemies. And the Air effect says your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Elemental Blast unleash 3 Surging Bolts at your totem. Imbuement Mastery has been updated, increases the chance for Wind Fury Weapon to trigger by 10%, damage by 15%. When Flame Tongue Weapon triggers from Wind Fury Weapon attacks, it has a chance to gather a whirl of flame around the target, dealing its damage to all nearby enemies 3 additional times. And then Rebound spells updated from Storm Strike to Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and an Elemental Blast. Resto, new talent, Coalescing Water. Chain Heal increases the initial healing of your next Riptide by 75%, stacking up to twice, and its mana cost is reduced by 15%. Reactive Warding now also allows Earth Shield and Water Shield to consume charges of the shields 1 second faster. High Tide's progress is now tracked through an aura called Swelling Tide. When its stack count reaches 100, High Tide triggers. High Tide's progress now resets at the start of raid encounters and M+. That's good. Totemic. Chain Heals from Lively Totems are now cast by the Shaman. This is intended to clarify that they will interact with Shaman talents. Updated the wording on Surging Totem and Oversurge to clarify its functionality. Fixed some buggies. Warlock icon update, and then Destro. Diabolic Ritual has been updated. Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, and Shadowburn grant Diabolic Ritual for 20 seconds. If a ritual is already active, its duration is reduced by 1 second instead. When it expires, you gain Demonic Art, causing your next Bolt, Rain of Fire, or Shadowburn to summon a demon that unleashes a devastating attack against your enemies. Touch of Rancora has been updated. Demonic Art increases the damage of your next Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, or Shadowburn by 100%, reduces cast time by 50%, and Chaos Bolt reduces the duration of Diabolic Ritual by an additional second. We are adjusting Diabolic Ritual to avoid a situation where constantly casting Rain of Fire due to its instant cast time provides the best output for Diabolist. To avoid adding to Diabolic Ritual's already lengthy tooltip, we're adding functionality to Touch of Rancora to further add value to casting Chaos Bolt, so its cast time doesn't hinder its usefulness to Diabolist Warlocks. Warrior icon update. Warbreaker's radius is going up for arms. Nice. Crushing Force now increases Bloodthirst crit damage by 5 or 10%, was crit chance by 2 to 4%. Items, this is a big one. Non-cosmetic class-restricted gear can now have its appearance collected by other classes. This change will be retroactive to any gear currently in your bank or inventory. Great news for people farming old raids and stuff. I think there were just some old raids that were just set up in a way that was weird and didn't work like, most raids did. So this will be good for that. And then also just any case where you're, Mog hunting. When quests are completed, you get all the appearances as well, regardless of if that class can use them, and this should apply retroactively to all quests previously completed. Also great news. And also, players have finally overcome their squeamishness and will now ride Jigglesworth Sr. with a narrower stance. Cool. PvP changes. Not for me. That's for another video. This video is already 7 years long. And then UI and accessibility. The Warband character list will remain collapsed or expanded from session to session. The search field now supports searching by realm and spec. A button to toggle the visibility of the interface has been added next to the back button. If you hide it, you can bring it back by double-clicking, pressing Escape, or pressing Alt-Z. Arcane Souls activation overlay update's been updated. Some cursor and interact icons have been updated. Some quest indicators have been updated. The currency transfer pane has a button that allows you to quickly input the maximum amount of currency from a given character. Nice. What would be really nice is just a button that transferred all of the currency on your account to that character. That would be sick. Interact icons been added for objects that open the Warbank, and learned curios can now be linked to chat from the curio slot or selection list. Cool. A lot of changes here. Video's already super long. I'm not going to do a rambly outro. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about what's happening to your class or spec. Let me know if Blizzard has unfairly forgotten your spec once again, and for the last 15 years, everybody else always gets changes, but your spec never does. Let me know if that's you and what your spec is down in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.